right, welcome back to the Heat Press for Profit Lounge, going live here from the Printing United show in Las Vegas. We've been bringing conversations to you all week about important topics to be able to grow your heat press business. And so I'm very excited to welcome in today Justin Leader from JC Pro Design. He is the owner at JC Pro Design, and we're going to be talking about quality, efficiency, and planning. How do we manage growth in a heat press department? And so first off, welcome, Justin.
Thanks.
Tell us all a little bit about your business, JC Pro Design, and what you guys do overall.
Yeah, so we're a medium-sized screen print facility in Salt Lake City, Utah. Where we really shine is heat transfer. That's what we started with, starting with a heat press in my living room and growing to now having a full-blown heat press department as well as, automatic screen presses and we do about 70% contract printing for other shops, and 30% are actual retail customers.
Okay, excellent. So just give us a quick rundown of how you define contract printing and what that looks like in case someone's not familiar.
So contract printing, we're pretty strict as far as they do have to be a decorating business. We don't let random people bring in random items. We're very strict that it has to be from a supplier or from another decorator. For example, would be somebody that already owns a screen print shop, or somebody that's an apparel broker that has an account with Sanmar or SNS Activewear that can ship directly to us.
Okay, great. So they'll drop ship blanks, you decorate on their behalf, perhaps ship on their behalf to their client, and help them to supplement their business.
Exactly.
Okay, and is that something you're doing with heat transfer work as well in that department?
Yeah, we do a ton. Most of our heat transfer is actually contract work.
Okay, and I think that's an important note because most people, when they think contract printing, they think high volume, screen printing, or embroidery. Right. But what sort of run sizes are you seeing come through in contract in the heat transfer department?
So it depends. We do, for example, we're a BSN decorator, and sometimes we'll have two for a coach. So we can do run sizes, 2 pieces. We've had orders over 5,000 pieces that we've had to do. We actually did a 5,800 piece Ultracolor Max or an Ultracolor Pro order.
Awesome.
For a contract customer.
Yeah, so thousands of pieces running through the heat press department. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you in. We've seen your growth at Stahls. You've been successful. Danny, one of our territory reps that has helped you along the way, said, hey, you got to talk to Justin. Yeah. He has to share with other decorators on what he's done inside of the heat transfer department. So I always like to start with kind of like how we define success and what we measure, especially when we're talking about efficiency and quality in these topics. So what are you really looking at in the business overall, and specifically in the heat press department that you're measuring?
So the big thing that we measure is one, the quality of the press. We do have metrics that we look at is, we want everybody averaging maybe a shirt a minute as in a run, and then X amount of time to set up your transfers in a certain area, count out your order, get the press set to the time and temp or whatever material that we're working with. I don't think people realize how many resources you guys have on your website. In the PDFs, you have all of your material, time, temp, and everything. Well, because they're PDF, they're vector, and we blew it up and put it on the wall.
Oh, nice.
So it helps when somebody sees a transfer. Oh, we know this is sport film. And on the auto clamps, they can just set it and go, or the dual air, it's actually on the press itself. But
yeah, and what does the heat press department look like? I know we can't go inside of the shop right now, so give us a lay of the land. How many heat presses do you have? How many people are working in there on a day-to-day basis?
So right now we have 2 different areas that we do heat press in. One is one room where we have the 2 360 IQs. We have a cheap China 1-2 that we can run some really weird shaped things that just don't fit on anything else. We have 4 auto clams and a dual air, and then in the other area we have 2 auto clams.
6, 7, 8, 9, sounds like 10 heat presses operating in this business. And so 2 360 IQs, for those that may not be familiar with the lingo, that is a cap press that heat presses from the top and the bottom, and we'll get into kind of how that helps with quality here in a moment. The auto clam is a clamshell style press that automatically opens. In the dual press, I'd like to talk just a little bit about the dual, which is a double base press, and why you made the decision to really bring that into the business.
That was probably the best investment I have made in the heat press department. And if my building had more spots in the breaker box and more power, I would bring in another one of those versus having 2 auto clams. One person having the 2 platens with the shuttle on it, it does almost give them double the productivity. While one is pressing, the other one you can prep, line up your transfer, it moves over, you pull the other one off while it's pressing, load your next shirt. It is incredibly efficient.
Excellent. So for those watching, I want to encourage you to listen to what Justin's saying and really look at downtime in the business. What is non-productive labor, and a couple little nuggets I picked up already. He's talking about, rather than what do you do while your heat press is down?
Yeah.
Well, you can stand there and look at it, or you can be loading the next station, and that's really what the dual press allows you to do. Now I'm curious, on the auto clams, is one operator running 2 machines, or is it just dedicated?
We try and keep 1 person per auto clam. Most of the stuff that we run on the auto clam is goof proof or a shorter dwell time.
Okay.
The 6 to 10 second press where you don't really have enough time on the dual air to do it with the hot peel.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if your dwell time's around 6 seconds or less, or maybe even 10 seconds or less, one operator probably on one machine is what you can keep up with. But as soon as you move up to a over 10-second dwell time, now you have plenty of time to start working on another station. Is that what you... Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And, when we're getting to the 15, 20-second dwell times, that's when you can run 2. We usually like having 1 operator on 1 station. It gives them enough time to prep their transfer, get everything set, make sure there isn't anything wrong or a hole in the shirt before they load it on the platen.
Okay. I want to dive a little deep. Before we started broadcasting on air, we were just chatting up a bit and talking about headwear business and a kind of a challenge he had with the delivery of a product, and he was telling me the story. So I'd like you to share that story with everybody else.
Yeah, we had an order for 600 flex style patches, and FedEx held them in customs it was 8 days, and I got clearance from customs to go and pick them up from FedEx so I could come back and press these hats so we could deliver them the same day. And with the 2 360s, I personally pressed 410 flex style hats in 4 hours.
Yeah, so 100 caps per hour with a emblem or a patch on 2 cap presses.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And so
while
much like
one's pressing, you're loading the other one, press, load, unload, press.
Yeah, and just to kind of crystallize that for everybody, what's the dwell time that you were running?
25 seconds.
25 seconds. So plenty of time for one operator to keep up with 2 machines. So it's nice that you did that job instead of putting it on somebody else. But how are you doing with, I guess I would say, staffing your shop and finding labor in the various departments?
So staffing, I pay $2 to $3 more an hour than every other shop in the valley.
Nice.
My prices are a little bit higher for contract and for retail, but I get a better quality person, which means we deliver a better quality product, and that's why we're so busy.
And have you had issues finding people at the rates and scaling with the business?
Yes and no. It's been really weird. When we lose somebody, we've had a couple of times where it was really hard to find somebody, nobody showing up for interviews, and but it's funny how you meet people. Ran into somebody that was looking for a job that I knew was a hard worker, and was like, well, I'll give you a shot, and they're one of my best employees now. So
awesome. And what's your opinion like when you're hiring an employee for the shop? I've seen different shops do this a lot of different ways. Will that employee work across all of the departments, or do you like to keep them focused on a department?
We try and keep them focused in a specific department. For example, our screen press operators, that's their only job. Our unloaders also help with shipping and receiving, but they don't really ever do any of the heat press or direct-to-garment printing or anything there. They help count out the orders for the heat press department, though. Heat transfer does bounce back and forth from DTG, but there's a lot of similarities there.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. And so how long does it take you to bring a new employee up to speed in the heat press department?
We usually give them 2 to 3 weeks of shadowing with somebody else, understanding the different materials. I spend at least 1 to 2 days going over what all the different types of transfers, all the different materials, how you can tell the difference with the backing, the carrier sheets. And I do it again a week later so they're not super overwhelmed.
Great. So a few weeks, let them on board, let them shadow. I think that's a great tip as well. Let them shadow in the business and let them jump in and start operating machine. Where do you feel like there is the most risk, I would say, in the department as far as like the process that you want to make sure your best employees are at?
Expensive garments.
Yeah.
heat sensitive garments. You know, when we're a North Face decorator with Sanmar. There's one employee that's allowed to do North Face jackets.
So what happens if they call off?
I do it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so once you've done all of that work to get everything to the heat press, you want to make sure that you are paying a little more, having a little higher caliber employee. Although it's a very easy task to do, there can be a lot of risk in damaging something, especially a high-end North Face garment.
Right, and North Face does have some tricky coatings on them, and that's why it's me or the other employees. We know what to look for to make sure that your adhesive isn't bleeding out, or you're not heat scarring the garment, those kind of things.
Okay, and so I honestly have the question, because I haven't dealt with North Face personally as much. What products are you utilizing on North Face?
Silicone.
Oh, silicone.
It is probably 90% silicone because it has that nice premium textured feel to it. It sticks better than almost any other product out there, and it looks similar to the North Face logo.
Yeah, so matching that brand icon with the same rubbery texture to it, and it applies great. Awesome. So are you in a growth pattern in the business, or?
We are. We're up. We're on track to be double what we did last year.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Relationships.
Okay.
That's a big part. The relationship with you guys as well is huge, you know, where the majority of our products we get within 2 days. And Ultracolor Max has helped a ton too.
Okay, so that's been one of those products that's contributed. So Ultracolor Max is a direct-to-film transfer. It's Stahls' brand of direct-to-film transfer. What are some of the ways you're utilizing Ultracolor Max? Where are you finding its value?
So there's a lot of logos that we used to do out of Express Print that now we just order on Ultracolor Max. That way we don't have to deal with the carrier and the mask.
Great. Yeah, so print cut process is Express Print, and so printing digitally the image, the machine cuts around it, and then we need to have an operator weed the design and mask. It's great. It's better than layering layers of vinyl and doing that multiple times. But the Ultracolor Max really comes in ready to press.
Oh, yeah,
and removes all of those steps in the process.
It's saved a ton of time, and with you guys being at 6 cents a square inch, it's crazy affordable.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all for joining us here. We're going to keep going. We have more questions, but I want to catch everybody up to speed. We're talking about quality, efficiency, and planning, and really managing growth in a heat press department. We are working with one of Stahls' customers, contract decorator, primarily Justin Leader from JC Pro Design. He's been a Stahls loyalist, exploring all the products. So we wanted to share some of the success with you. We've talked about Ultracolor Max so far. We've talked a little bit about Flex Style, a lot about the heat presses. Any other products that you're utilizing in the heat press department other than the silicone that everybody should be considering?
The silicone we use a lot of for the higher end garments. Our go-to for single color stuff is sport film. I feel it is a really underrated material that you guys carry. That stuff sticks to everything. It is probably the easiest product you have to weed.
Yeah.
And I personally have shirts that I've washed over 150 times, and it still looks perfect.
Excellent. So, yeah, that's a lot of washes. So a lot of people think heat transfer is not durable, but if it's the right product, if it's applied with the right time, temperature, and pressure, we can expect something that's going to be highly durable. Okay, so we've been talking about lots of good stuff, but I want to peel back some challenges, like get really deep and kind of like understanding.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
In a second. All right, welcome back. We had to pause for an announcement there. So the question, just to recap it, is like just getting a little bit deeper. What challenges are you experiencing right now that you're setting out to solve?
So one of the biggest things that's us is space, and I am looking at figuring out a way to make the heat press department a little bit more efficient with the space that we have. You guys having the 360 saved a ton versus having one that's top heat, one that's lower heat, being able to do them both on that's huge. The lower heat on the auto clams as well, we're starting to see a lot more thinner fabrics. You know, you're starting to heat scar a lot worse. I'm sure you guys are seeing it too,
oh, yeah.
Right? So that's an issue that we're trying to combat right now. One thing that we're getting by right now is a tip for everybody is we just press the whole front of the shirt.
Oh, yeah. So real practical thing, right? Yeah. Leave a heat press box. That's all right. Just scorch the whole front, right?
Yeah.
So you're not seeing that definitive line.
Yeah.
Hey, this is reality, right? Practical advice.
It's super easy. You know, it takes the operator an extra 10 or 15 seconds, and it's out the door.
Great. So challenges, we love to dig into challenges and find ways to solve those through product, through innovation. And so talking with shops like Justin and understanding the challenges that they're facing is how we come up with content. So let me give you a little teaser content since we're sitting here. So I thought of this acronym to solve the heat press mark, and I call it the ARCH method, right? It's getting from here with all these challenges and separating yourself from all the other decorators with a stable arch, right? It's going to how you're going to get over those challenges. So A stands for accurate pressure. I find a lot of decorators, probably not your shop, think more pressure is better.
No.
People almost break the handle on the heat press when we make them lock it down in the booth. It's accurate pressure. It's not just more pressure. And so if you're scorching garments or leaving that heat press box, sometimes you're just simply over applying the pressure. And something important with that is you've probably been implementing this, but when you go to that smaller platen underneath, you need to reduce the pressure. You can't run 60 psi that goes on a 16 by 20 surface and then run 60 psi on a 4 by 4 inch surface.
Oh yeah, and you'll see sometimes the edge of the platen, not just your foam piece, the actual edge of your platen, if somebody forgets to turn the pressure down.
Yep, so accurate pressure, absolutely critical. The R stands for reduced temperature. And so you can't just take the transfer you apply at 360 degrees and expect to decorate the diverse fabric marketplace that's out there today. So source transfers, Ultracolor Max would be one of ours, and there are a lot of different styles that press sort of that sub 290 degree application. So accurate pressure, reduced temperature. C stands for cover sheet, and so the correct cover sheet is important. Are you using any cover sheets to kind of reduce scorch marks at all?
We do have the upper platen covers on all of our presses. We have used your silicone pad when we have to. That one, it is tricky making sure that you're increasing your dwell time and getting good adhesion with it, but that is an amazing product.
Yeah, and so when you're pressing hats, are you using any special cover sheet?
Every time, depending on the transfer.
Yeah, so lots of acrylic in hats, lots of issues with scorching, and so utilizing, especially on the dimensional emblems and patches, a foam cover pad. So there are a lot of different cover sheets on the market. It's not just craft paper and Teflon. There are thin rubberized materials that you can experiment with. And so if you're having scorching, using the correct cover sheet can help you solve that, all right?
Yeah, and the flex style pad actually works a lot for some of the flat as well.
Excellent. So we have accurate pressure, reduced temperature, correct cover sheet, and what do you think the H is? Heated lower platen, of course, right?
The heated lower platens are amazing.
Yeah. So if you, my thought is if you connect all four of those things, I think you can solve about, I'm going to say 95% of the fabric marketplace. Yeah. But in reality, there's still a percentage that you just can't solve.
Some of those red polos, you know, reds and blues, man, they're the worst.
Yeah. And are you testing fabrics when they come in to make sure you can decorate them, or are you lining up the order and then you just go?
If it's one that we haven't done before, we usually try some testing.
Yeah, I think that's a good best practice is if you can, add that extra shirt from your blank apparel supplier and test the new line. One of my favorite new lines is the Mercer and Metal line from Sanmar.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with that yet?
We've done a lot of it. It's a great product. It gives you the OGO feel for a better price.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is really heat sensitive. We've had to run lower heat on a lot of those.
Yeah, so we had the fun experience on day one. When we were setting up, we were wearing the Mercer and Metal T-shirts, but they weren't decorated when they got here. So we literally had to press all of our transfers on day one on setup. And it's like, I hope these don't scorch. We didn't test these, and we don't have shirts for tomorrow. But we followed those rules, and we're able to really have if any scorch, a very light scorch.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other thing is, have you found any particular apparel styles like the Mercer and Metal line or things that you're just leaning on heavily that other decorators should be looking at?
I don't think people give enough credit to heat transfer on polos. If you look now in a retail setting, Under Armour, a lot of them are heat transfer logos. Nike's doing a lot more heat transfer logos, and people still want it embroidered. This year we've done... we had one order that we did over 1,000 polos, and they were Travis Matthews polos.
Yeah, nice brand, high-end brand.
And they wanted a silicone transfer on it. They wanted that nice premium look and feel. And I think people need to give more credit to heat transfer on a higher-end garment like a Travis Matthews polo or something along those lines.
You know what I love about small logos and heat transfer? Really high margins.
Yes.
Are you
Extremely
experiencing
high.
that as well?
We are, yeah. Our average margin on a heat press logo is over 500%.
Wow. Wow.
As far as on the actual decoration cost, plus our margin on the shirt.
Wow. Yeah. So lots of profit to be made, and that's why we call it the Heat Press for Profit Lounge. Heat press that we do at Stahls isn't just for hobbyists. It's to actually incorporate into your business and make real margin and money on.
Yeah.
And establish a whole heat press department like Justin has been able to do as a contract printer, primarily to the trade, doing contract printing, not just screen printing, not just embroidery, but heat transfers. So as we wrap up our time together today, I want to ask, kind of working on the business and not necessarily in the business. I mean, you're doing some heat pressing, right? You're getting in front of the press, which is great to have an owner that's involved and understand how everything works. But how do you find time to plan the business, or how do you approach that?
Hiring the right people to do the other jobs. I really only fill in when somebody else is out. That's finding somebody that you trust, and letting go of that trust is probably one of the hardest things that you can do as a business owner. Especially your first employee is going to be your hardest. Your second employee is easier. Third, fourth, fifth, way easier. It gets easier to relinquish that trust and understand that as long as you train them right, they're going to do the job.
So, did you say you came out of like a home business or a garage into this?
I started in my living room
Okay.
with just a heat press and a silhouette.
Okay. And were you in a physical space when you hired your first employee?
I was in my garage when I hired my first employee.
Okay. And how did you make the decision to make that leap? Because I think that's relevant for a large percentage of our audience.
Yeah, the decision, it is really hard, but when you start realizing that you're missing emails and you can't follow up with people because you're too busy producing on your own, you also, don't necessarily just run the numbers in your head thinking, oh, well, I'm going to be paying them this much, I need to bring in this much more business. No, if you hire the employee to do that work, you take that much stress off, the business will be there.
Yeah, not needing to do it all yourself. And so I think that's really a double meaning, right? So
Yeah.
you and your journey with understanding where you're strong and making sure you complement it and set up the business for success in all the roles, but also just being open to a business like Justin's and contract printing as a way to scale and grow. You don't need to print everything yourself either. And I know that in speaking with our territory manager that works with Justin regularly, he cited Justin's willingness to contract print in the heat press department is one of the major reasons for the business growth in his region. All day he's connecting apparel decorators in the Utah region to Justin to do contract printing for stuff that they don't necessarily need to bring in-house because they don't have the time.
Right. Right now we have 42 contract decorators. 6 of them have their own screen printing equipment, and they outsource 100% of their heat transfer to us.
Excellent. So think differently a little bit about heat transfer is what we wanted you to take away from this presentation.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any final thoughts before we conclude together?
Network, build relationships, Facebook groups. The Heat Press for Profit group has a lot of good, valuable information.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you all joining us at the Heat Press for Profit Lounge. We'll be broadcasting a couple more classes today. So at 11:30, we'll be doing retail details, custom branding ideas to increase value and efficiency. And I'm really excited for that one because we have the innovator of a tag-along platen, which allows you to press the tag at the same time as you press the front. You have that one of those?
Yeah, we have one of those.
Okay, I figured you would. And then we also have one of the decorator relations folks from Sanmar that work with a lot of clients with helping them grow their brands. So we're kind of going to get the manufacturing side and the retail branding side at that 11:30 conversation. And then one of our favorites at Stahls, Jenna, is handling the 12:30 class, Blueprint for Brand Relevance, and she'll be joined by Jay Bassell, who always is fire, has a lot of tips on increasing your brand and growing your brand on LinkedIn and beyond so you can grow your business. So make sure you come back for those. Thanks so much for watching this broadcast from the Heat Press for Profit Lounge. We'll see you next time.